¿Qué lo que y'all? What's good? Estamos activo. Bienvenido. We are already past 6,200 suscriptores. So big shout out to all y'all that have already joined La Comunidad. And if you haven't yet, come on now. You know what to do. Now that we know el alfabeto, we can take a huge step forward by learning how all of las letras sound when they're inside of palabras. If you ask me which lesson in the pronunciation series I thought was most important, I would say this one right here. Even if you've been learning Spanish for a minute, this one is key, especially if you haven't actually been going out and speaking Spanish with other people, because Duolingo and all them little digital apps will have you thinking that your pronunciation is on point when really it's basura. We're going to breeze through all the easier letras that are similar to Inglés and spend extra time focusing on the more complex ones. So pay really close attention and practice this as much as you can so that you're ready to start reading with me el lunes. And I know that sounds crazy or scary or whatever, but trust me, if you get this lesson down, you will be ready. So here we go. Here's something muy importante. All of the vowels in Spanish, a, e, I, o, and u, always sound the same. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see Spanish learners make, and even I'm still guilty of this sometimes. In English, the letter A can sound like a, so a lot of times we try to pronounce this word casa. But in Spanish, it's only ever a. Casa. Casa. B sounds like b, banco. Se, just like in English, can have different sounds depending on what it's next to. Se a, se o, and se u all have the k sound. K, casa, k, corazón, and k, cuchara. Se e and se I sound like s, cena, cita. Se and h, better known as che, which used to be a part of the Spanish alphabet, sounds like ch, like chorizo. De. We learned that de has more of a soft th sound. So here's a quick breakdown of that so you really understand what I mean. In English, say the word these. But don't say it with your tongue outside of your teeth like these. Your tongue should just touch the back part of your front teeth and your gums. These. Practice saying that a few times and really focus on the way your tongue feels. These. These. Now say it the exact same way, but change the ending to te. That is how you say it. Te. Notice the difference between how it feels to say de like this versus the more English pronunciation de. They feel completely different and they also sound completely different. It's the little things like this that are going to help you sound more fluent. We now know that vowels always sound the same, so this is e. Mesa. F has the same f sound that we have in English, but it's a little bit softer. So in English, our bottom lip comes into our mouth like football. But in Spanish, you don't have to do all that, and really it'll just slow you down. So you only want to feel a little bit of your lip. Café. Café. He can have two sounds. He-a, he-o, and he-u all are g. G, gato, g, gorila, and g, gusano. He-e and he-i both have the h sound. So, gente and gigante. With gigante, notice that the first he sounds like h, and the second one sounds like g. This is the perfect example of the difference between the two. Gigante. H is silent, like hola. Notice that you skip right over the H and go straight to the O. Hola. All vowels are always the same, so I, cita. Jota can have two sounds. Jota-a and Jota-o sound like jaula, and joya. J-U sounds like who in English, so jugo. Ka sounds like k, kilo. L sounds like l, leche, but if you see dos L's back to back, which is better known as eye, it sounds like the English Y sound, so like y, yellow. So this is llave, calle, amarillo. M sounds like m, mesa. N sounds like n, noche. Ñ makes the same ny sound like canyon, onion, or lasagna. So this is niño, baño, compañero. All vowels are the same. O, ojo. P sounds like p, p, papel. Q can have two sounds. So Q, U, E sounds like the English que, but not que, like queso. Q, U, E sounds like the English word key, like quince. R is the hardest letra in Spanish, so sorry in advance for the amount of time that you're going to spend trying to get used to this one. But don't let it keep you from speaking because you'll get better the more that you practice. When there's one R and it falls inside or at the end of a word, it has more of a th kind of sound, like a D. So, señor or gorila. When a word starts with R or there's two of them back to back, then it's got more of that trill sound. So ratón or perro. You can really hear the difference between the two R sounds with these two words. The first one is pero and it means but. The second one is perro and it means dog. So the way that you pronounce these is going to be key because they mean two completely different things, even though they look pretty similar. But like I said, practice these and learn them as you go, and don't just sit around waiting until you perfect it to start talking because it's probably going to be a minute. Check out my R-roll video for a little bit of help in the meantime. Ese sounds like s, silla. So just like de also has that soft kind of TH sound, but it's a little bit different. In English, say the word think. It's going to sound just like that. So it wouldn't be taco, it's taco. Vowels are always the same, so u, mucho. Ube has a soft b sound. So say the word beep. It should feel and sound just like that. Bibo. X can have three different sounds, but fortunately only one of them is popular. Most times this sounds exactly like the English X, so taxi or excelente. But if a word starts with X, which is pretty rare, then it's going to have an S sound like s, xenophobia. You're going to see this so infrequently that I almost didn't even mention it, but it is good to know. There's also the Mexican X that sounds like the English H sound. So that's why you'll hear this pronounced Mexico and Texas. Y o Y sounds like y, so yo. But depending on the country, it can also have a fancy kind of J sound. So if you've heard the name Jacques, that j, it sounds like that. So in some places, this would be jo. And finally, zeta, which has the English S sound like taza. Felicidades, you made it all the way to the end. And I know that felt like a lot, but the good news is that there's really only a few letters that you have to really focus on. Study and practice this lesson as much as you can because this is your Spanish foundation. If you can get all of this down, you'll be able to correctly pronounce words that you've never even seen before, and you'll be getting a ton of compliments on your pronunciation. So keep pushing, and I'll see you el lunes with our first book reading. Gracias por estar aquí. Hasta la próxima.